followed by a convoy of suspected undercover Chinese police vehicles.
The tail is still on us.
Mimicking our every turn through China's far western Xinjiang region.
Yeah, they might know exactly where we're going.
Blocking roads that lead to possible internment camps and keeping us from getting too close to so-called sensitive sites. How we ended up on this journey had less to do about us and more about who we were looking for. CNN searching for the lost Uyghur children of Xinjiang, a region in which several countries, including the U.S., allege China is committing genocide against the ethnic Uyghur Muslim minority. Thousands of families have now been ripped apart due to China's actions. We tracked down 2 of them. Now in Adelaide, Australia, Mahmoudjan Abdurrahim constantly replays the only recent videos he has of his daughter and son. Daddy! He has not held his wife or their children in more than 5 years. He is among thousands of families from Xinjiang who've been torn apart, according to a new Amnesty International report.
In April 2017, the mass internment had started, and as one of the first people detained, my wife was detained too.
Before they were separated, Mahmoudjan was studying for a PhD in Kuala Lumpur. His wife was studying English there.
We were happy as a family. It was a good old days.
But Mahmoudjan's wife lost her passport while abroad in Malaysia. Chinese officials told her that to renew it, she had to go back to Xinjiang. She brought the couple's 2 young children with her, thinking they'd soon be able to travel back to be with her husband. But that was late 2015. Amnesty says the forced separation of families allows China to control the narrative, keeping something precious to dissuade their loved ones outside the country from bad-mouthing China. Chinese officials have repeatedly pushed back against claims of genocide in Xinjiang, the foreign minister recently calling it preposterous, adding, "We welcome more people from around the world to visit Xinjiang. Seeing is believing. It is the best way to debunk rumors," he said. So we decided to try to find the missing children ourselves, with permission from their parents. The 5+ hour flight from Beijing ended with a strange request from the cabin crew. As we approached Kashgar's airport to land, all window shades had to be shut. No explanation why. We went through a standard COVID test for all arriving passengers.
Bye, thank you.
Loaded up a rental car and roamed without anyone stopping us. Though, like much of China, you're always watched. You immediately encounter the vibrant and richly diverse culture of this region. The faces, all so different, perhaps not what you'd expect in China. From the Grand Bazaar to the Central Mosque, we strolled through the reconstructed Old Town. It's here we began to notice people trailing us.
There are usually individual men on phones and kind of keeping a social distance, shall we say.
But it seemed they wanted to know who we were searching for. This video of Mahmoudjan's little girl was a critical clue for us. We matched the alleyways of Old Kashgar with the backdrop in the video. The first day, no luck.
I hit another dead end. This might be it. Let's try this.
24 hours and 20,000 steps later, we weaved our way through one last corridor, and suddenly...
That's her. Do you know this man? Is he your father? That's your dad.
The daughter and her grandparents, Mahmoudjan's mom and dad, were not expecting us, but they let us into their home. Mukhlisa told me she's going to turn 11 in May, but amidst her innocence and awareness not to say too much, she told us she'd not spoken to her father since 2017.
Their passports confiscated.
And when we asked her,
what would you want to say to him if you could talk to him?
I miss him, she later told me.
Can you tell me some of what you're feeling?
I don't have my mom with me right now. I don't have my dad either. I just want to be reunited with them, she told me. Off camera, her grandmother overcome by grief. As I asked about her mother and if she'd been sent to a camp,
how long was she away for?
She quickly bolted to her grandfather, translating our question from Chinese to Uyghur for them. Camps are too sensitive a topic to discuss. As they talked, notice the sudden murmurs in the background. It seemed word of our visit had gotten to officials and back to the family, bringing an abrupt end to our visit.
She wants the family together.
All right.
And that's...
But she wouldn't want to, she didn't want to say they want to go abroad.
But we still wanted to know where Mamutjan's wife and son were. The family says they'd been living with her parents in a house nearby.
It's locked on the outside, so unless they're gone for the day or they're gone permanently.
We asked the Chinese government if the wife is currently in a camp. They have not gotten back to us. While on the ground in Xinjiang, there was a second set of children we wanted to track down. Their parents are in Italy.
My children thought that we had abandoned them, that we don't care about them.
After having 5 children and getting pregnant with a 6th, they say authorities wanted to force the mother to have an abortion and throw the father in jail.
The policies were too strict. It was impossible to take all our children together with us. So we left our homeland and our children in desperation.
The older children, now aged between 12 and 16, were left behind with their grandparents. Mirheban and Ablekim hoped the separation would be temporary until they could secure more visas. But they went nearly 4 years unable to contact their children. And they got word that family members were being rounded up and sent to camps. Determined to reunite the family, their cousin in Canada, Arafat Ablemit, choreographed their escape attempt from half a world away. Their parents had finally secured visa approvals from Italy for their children. In June 2020, Arafat managed to communicate to the kids.
This is your only shot. If you just stay, your life is going to be stay there with nothing we can do.
On their own, they traveled more than 3,000 miles, farther than going from LA to New York, recovering hidden passports, eventually flying into Shanghai.
When the children arrived here in Shanghai, they were excited and happy. They never thought they would make it this far.
But their repeated attempts to obtain their visas failed. Arafat also says multiple hotels turned the kids away because they're Uyghur. They finally found a place willing to take them in. All the while, they dropped geolocation pins for Arafat to know that they were okay. The last pin dropped on June 24th, a few blocks from the hotel.
Do you know who these children are? Have you seen them before?
Arafat in Canada watched. Then silence, minutes to hours to days to weeks.
And then I tell my aunts they might be in detained. Mikerban in Italy, they start crying like they cannot believe it.
After several phone calls, he learned that police had tracked them down. China's giant surveillance network zeroing in on the 4 children. Arafat later found out they'd been sent back to Xinjiang and thrown into an orphanage. In Rome, the parents heard the devastating news of their children's detention as they begged for help outside Italy's Ministry of Foreign Affairs office. The Italian government refused to comment to CNN on what happened. China has also not responded to requests for comment on the 2 families' cases. Having found Mukhlisa for her father, we hope to find the 4 Ablekim children to bring their parents some comfort. We headed out before sunrise, leaving Kashgar for the hour or so drive to get to the orphanage where they were sent. That's the eldest boy, Yahya, standing in front of the building a month ago. As we drove, we watched as one car after another trailed us.
This is it right here where he took the photo.
After making a pass by the orphanage, we headed to one of the kids' schools. We asked to see the kids. Eventually, a local official showed up and asked for about 30 minutes to get back to us.
It was more than 2 hours ago, but they've yet to let us talk to the children.
We later made contact with Yahya through video chat.
Do you want to be with them? Do you miss them?
I do, he says. He answered quickly and kept looking off camera. Someone was directing him to answer. Tell them that you see your sister every day, the voice said.
Can you tell us about your journey trying to reunite with your parents last year?
When we asked about the Shanghai escape attempt, he deflected. Much like Mukhlisa, here was another child, keenly aware that the way they speak and what they say could impact those they love.
Bye-bye.
After about 8 minutes, we ended the call.
They are literally right over there, and we can't see them.
We later learned that 3 of the children were interrogated about our conversation. Despite the pressure that the children face every day, late last month they even risked sending out a photo message to their parents. The 4 of them lined up, holding a sign in Chinese saying, "Dad, Mom, we miss you." A rare glimpse of an uncensored truth. With each passing hour of our being on the ground in Xinjiang, it seemed the number of likely security agents trailing us increased, adding pressure to our search. But before leaving, we reconnected with Mamutjan, who was hungry for any information on his wife and kids and desperate to see his little girl. We watched him as he watched her.
That's my daughter. That's my mother.
Do you know this man? Is he your father? That's your dad. We've been talking to your father.
That's my father. We got so old. I haven't seen them for 4 years.
For Mahmoudjan, it's part relief, seeing that she's okay, even proud that she still wants to be a doctor.
What would you want to say to him if you could talk to him?
But to see her break down, sending her love to her father, well, no dad, no matter how strong, can hide that agony for long.
Poor thing. What kind of country does this to people, to the innocent people?
What you're feeling?